Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these live shows. But most importantly, if you would like to join the debate, simply click the link in the info box below this video. Be sure to mute the page you are currently watching before you do so, and say a big hello when you join the show. Other than that, please share the show, as sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel, or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. We are joined by Sleeping Warrior. How are you doing, Sleeping Warrior? Good to have you here.
Good morning. How are we?
Good morning. Good to see you.
Likewise. Just wondering if anybody's found any curvature out there yet. Been looking for curvature for months, not found any yet. Found lots of stuff that looks a little bit like curvature if you squint your eyes, like a bit of atmospheric, like horizon mirroring or dirty air on the horizon, whatever you want to call it. But, I mean, I haven't found any curvature yet.
It occurred to me yesterday that the rhetoric from the Globe is such that they want you to understand their nonsense, you know, completely understand it before you're allowed to even challenge it. And if you don't understand their nonsense, you're just an idiot who doesn't understand what you're looking at. So in the case of the Isle of Man, we obviously say we just see stuff because it's there, but they have this like page-long explanation for what's there. And if you don't understand it or get it or accept it, then you're an idiot.
Have you seen the page-long explanation?
Well, I've heard it on about 20 shows.
Oh, right. So this is about that, what do you call it? The non-standard refraction hyena.
Yeah, slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holograms.
Well, I mean, we all understand the concept of this looming thing that they all claim that it is. Essentially, it's bringing things back from behind the curve because of the bending of light or the curvature of light caused by refraction. But when you look into the refraction argument, of course, it doesn't say anything about creating like an arc. It says that light bends up, down, left, and right. It bends in all directions, and it's governed, and the changes are minuscule, so much so that it's described as negligible. And the concept that this thing can follow the curvature of the Earth so precisely, you have to wonder how likely that is, given that if you're looking, say, 100 miles, and you're thinking that the light, or you're going to argue that the light at every interval between you and that 100-mile marker is following a perfect arc that just happens to be the curvature of the Earth. I mean, that's either creation or wrong, because I don't think anybody would realistically believe that you can follow the curvature of the Earth so precisely and it not be creation. I mean, if it is a curve, then it is creation. It's that simple. I don't see how they can argue it as anything else, to be honest.
Please like and share the show. Already 2 thumbs down. Not that I'm too fussed about the ratings, but yeah, please share the show.
I'm trying to work out what I've done wrong here. I'm on a page that I don't recognise. Let me work out why I've messed this up.
I'll do some shout outs while you have a look. So, stopping traffic in my mega hat. Good to have you here. Veen, good to see you. Nice to have you, Roger MC. The Rig, saw your video the other day. Broke back tuft of trees. I recognise that avatar. How you doing, Bruce?
Coming to you from beyond the curve.
Beyond the imaginary curve.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
So whereabouts are you then? You sound Aussie.
Well, oh no, I don't sound Aussie, do I? I'm full American.
Oh, it did sound Aussie initially. No, I apologize.
I think it's from talking to you guys so much. I find myself like, you know, the ego in my head, the thinking. I hear it in your guys' accent. It's really annoying right now.
So it's like 4 a.m. for you. Are you like up late or are you up early?
Yeah, it's 3 a.m. I'm up late. Usually I have to get up early and set an alarm because middle of the afternoon is just terrible for me.
Have you found any curvature recently?
Not beyond my wife.
Have you been looking?
On my wife, but yeah,
Yeah, you can find plenty of curves on the wife.
yeah, yeah. I was really amazed by yesterday's debate. The gentleman who did like a month of flat Earth and then went back to the globe. I just didn't really get his, what persuaded him back.
Who was that? I mean, I must have missed that bit.
PMARS and peer pressure.
Yeah,
P Mars, did you just say?
yeah, P Miles. Yeah, P Miles.
P Mars. I don't think P Mars ever was a flat earther. I think he sits on the fence because I think P Mars. You either love the guy or you hate the guy, but essentially he goes where he feels wanted. That's how I feel. I don't know whether that's right or not, but if you show P Mars a bit of love, he's your best friend and he'll be a flat earther for the day. If you don't show him a bit of love, he'll be a ball earther for the day. Maybe he is neutral. I don't know, but I don't think he's really a flat earther because once you go flat, you can't go back.
Was he? Yeah, exactly. Was he the one in the last debate who was asking about as you move further up the horizon, gets larger?
Yeah, he has that argument a bit like circumnavigation, where you go higher on a globe and you can see more, therefore it's a globe. It's like, well, the same applies on a flat Earth. What are you talking about? It's a null argument.
Especially, I would assume, since if you think of the geometry of the curve, if it's expanding left to right, laterally, then that would be more proof that it's expanding on a flat plane because it would be dropping away. You'd be seeing less horizon as you got up and seeing more curve.
Yeah, I mean, for me, one of the biggest issues with heliocentrism is that if we do live on this spherical ball-shaped thing, the gyroscope becomes your best friend then, because it would, in real world, it would show you A, axial rotation, and B, it would show you curvature when you fly around the Earth on a plane. Now, the arguments that go against that idea are absolute rubbish, because the main argument about the plane argument is that the friction in the bearing counters the curvature that you fly around, and friction in the bearing counters the slow rotation speed of the Earth's spin. However, John Savage proved that he could get he put it on a clock, and the gyroscope span on a clock, and the clock moved 15 degrees in an hour. And the argument then was that it wasn't a smooth motion; it was like jolty because of the clockwork mechanism. It was like jolt, 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 and them series of little increments weren't actually rotation; they were little tiny movements. And I thought, when I heard that argument, I thought, that's utter nonsense. It's still 15 degrees, whether it's a jolt or whether it's a smooth movement. It's still 15 degrees of gross turn. So ultimately, it's the gyroscope would prove it. And the fact that it doesn't prove it is really, really, really a problem for these idiots. Because fundamentally, principally, and absolutely, the gyroscope does what it's been tested. John Savage has tested it and proved that it will do the rotation at 15 degrees in an hour, and it doesn't do it. You can test it on a plane. It doesn't do it. The planes fly straight. If they flew around a curve, they would land in America or in wherever, and they would need to be reset on the tarmac, because it would show that it's nose down into the ground by X amount of degrees, and that would coincide with the amount of degrees that you flew around the Earth. They don't do it. And
you just went through 5 proofs. I got to catch up with you. Hold on.
Yeah.
You go quick. It's great. I love it, Ray. On the gyroscope, now, was Max Egan using a gyroscope or a compass?
He had a compass.
And how did that work exactly? Because what's amazing about that story that I was trying to point out the other day was that, first of all, you got to know Max Egan. He's such a baller. And he thinks talking about this is rubbish, to use your guys' word, because he's more interested in slavery as humanity and things of that nature. And who could play, that's great. That's a great cause. He's got some great causes. But he absolutely thinks talking about cosmology is a total waste of time and a total, he thinks it's like listening to the Grateful Dead getting us away from the truth or something. You know what I mean? And so then he goes on Jaron's show and he's like, yeah, I didn't experience anything on this flight. You're full of crap. And Jaron's like, wait, did you hear what you just said? And so if you could explain that mechanism, how that worked out real quick.
The way I remember it, and it's been a while since I've seen anything to do with it, and I don't think I ever saw the conclusion of the Max Egan thing, but fundamentally, the point was that he was supposed to be traveling in a southeasterly direction, but he actually traveled in a northeasterly direction, I think it was. Or it might have been the opposite way around. I can't remember exactly which way around it was, but the point that I remember watching in the video was that he was meant to be traveling in a particular direction, but his compass on the back of the seat plane thing, the screen, was
opposite.
The compass on the back of the TV monitor on the seat in front was saying that he was traveling in one direction.
Right.
But his real world compass was telling him it wasn't the same direction. It was like 25, 30 degrees out, something of that kilter. And the effect of it was that he either did go over the southern rotation point, which is what the point of the video was, or he skimmed along the edge of it.
Right.
I think that was right, Nath. Do you remember what the conclusion of it was?
I can't remember the conclusion. It's a while ago. I do remember watching Max Egan's compass physically change as he was flying, while the seat rest said it was in exactly the same direction. So they were physically making a turn, and they weren't letting the passengers know.
Right. And then you moved on to what was the next point you made?
Friction in the bearings?
No, beyond that, you were already off. Well, I guess, first of all, let me just say, as we all know, the 4 things that don't work on a globe: gyroscope, periscope, lighthouse, and what would be the 4th?
I'm learning here. I've not heard the periscope one, but I can see why.
You can see why, right? I mean, every time I ask a glober, well, how far does a periscope see? You never get a straight answer, and that's like a couple inches off the water. You know what I mean?
I'm going to do that.
And obviously, you're proving the lighthouse in your picture. You know that wouldn't work on a globe. You wouldn't be able to use the lighthouse as a mechanism unless you have this bending of light, I guess.
Well, I've just done a quick Google search, and the question was, how far can a periscope see? And the answer
I have a hard time finding it.
Yeah, the answer says, at max elevation of that particular periscope, as per the web, for an observer on the ground with an eye height level of 5'7", the horizon is at a distance of 2.9 miles, 4.7 kilometers. For an observer standing on a hill, blah, blah, blah. Right, okay, so there's the answer. Right, so that was in general. So in relation to the periscope, it says, pretty far if you're surfaced. It's simple geometry. If you have the right triangle, the distance is short, and the distance is short enough, you don't have to figure in the Earth's curvature. Practically, it depends on the sea state and the wave height, of course, weather, and closely related haze. It also depends on how shallow the CO or the OOD is willing to take the boat.
Hey, Arev, is that the real Arev, or are you a sniper?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hear you. Long time no see. Good to have you.
Yeah, it's been a while. How you been?
Batting off the ballers. Have you been watching?
Oh my gosh, it's been getting rough out here. It's crazy.
You've been watching, yeah?
Yeah, it's been rough, man. But it looks like y'all are starting to make some progress with this whole FE thing.
Well, they're kind of keeping away now because they're on a self-proclaimed, what's the word? Protest.
I've been inviting new talent on Twitter. I'm hoping they show up any day now.
Baller talent or flat earth talent?
Ballers.
Oh no, the ballers will always come in.
Oh, that reminds me. Steve McRae got back in touch. So Ali B's been asking us to talk to Steve McRae, who I watch anyway and know of. I don't know if Ranty and Anthony know of Steve, but either way, I dropped him an email and said I'd like to do our presentation to you, and he said, yeah, I do several shows a week. They're often about 6 hours long. I'll drop you a line. We'll arrange something. So hopefully we'll present this to Steve, who's definitely going to be a skeptical person to put it in front of, but that's kind of why I want to do it.
Yeah.
Up the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was the reason why I went in Slice Chat. I didn't really want to go in Slice Chat, but I went in just to sharpen my own tools, to see what his views were, and then to see how he would deal with them, and then obviously like challenge him based on his whatever he comes back at me with. And essentially, it was a positive experience generally, even though Slide wouldn't accept that he failed on what he was trying to show, and his believers or his subs all claimed a victory, to which, of course, they were not entitled. They did a Wallace in the Bedford Levels experiment, fundamentally, it was good to see what other people had views on them with. So it was quite good, but I'm finding lots of different answers for the periscopes. There's too many factors that influence what you can or can't see.
That's what I run into too. You can't get a straight answer. I'm sure the Navy has a straight answer.
Well, I mean, you can come from a different paradigm with this whole perspective thing. I was wondering if I could share my screen real quick and kind of demonstrate kind of what's going on with perspective according to Samuel Robotham. Y'all probably already covered it, but let's see if I can share my screen here. Right there. Share. Can you see me?
Yep, all good.
All right, perfect. So on the ground, you got your little observer here. Sorry, my art is just terrible. So you got your observer here, and everything narrows out to your vanishing point going straight out from your vision at eye level. And so it narrows down in 360 degrees. So it's going to narrow down like this. And it's also going to narrow down like this on the ground. But keep in mind that you're only 6 feet off the ground. And so effectively half of your vision is cut off right there. And so objects in the distance will tend to appear to disappear ground first. Now, if you go out and say you somehow get up higher in the air without the ground interfering, then objects would tend to disappear uniformly top and bottom, because then you don't have the ground competing for, your vanishing point of vision. And so this might just be, a perspective thing, that's poorly understood. People think, oh, it's disappearing behind the curve of the earth. No, it's not. The thing is, the ground's competing for your vanishing point. It narrows up to the vanishing point as well. And so with the ground in the way, it's effectively cutting off half of the object. So it might just be poorly understood perspective. And so it's a kind of a different paradigm of how to approach perspective and things. And so it's just kind of a different way of looking at it. And I noticed that it looked like in the distance, boats were kind of on the water, and there was an area of water that you couldn't see. Well, the vanishing point might have like a mirroring thing going on. So bottom first, stuff disappears above your vanishing point line, but below, maybe it's the opposite. Maybe stuff disappears top first because you only have 6 feet of ground. And so for vanishing point purposes, you treat it like a 6 foot object. And Samuel Robotham says you can see objects up to 3,000 times their length. And so 3,000 times 6 feet is, guess what, about 18,000 feet, or about 3 miles. So you're basically treating it like you're seeing 6 feet of ground up to about 3 miles. And then past that, anything that's taller would just disappear bottom or top first past that vanishing point, because past that, you got, 6 feet of ground that's vanished out. So that could be what it is.
Well, if you keep that on screen, hopefully she'll... Shut up! Pack it in. If you keep that on screen for a minute, actually, give me a minute. The phone's ringing. I'll be straight back.
All right.
Have you guys ever looked at they have these diagrams of the different lenses that you can buy, and it's all on one diagram and shows you what the focal geometry looks like, if you will. And what's interesting is the 50 millimeter lens is considered the closest thing to human eye. And so you get this really interesting, very fine perspective of what he's drawing. And it's not quite like you would think. It's not quite like, the hallway going down, although that's convergence. That's definitely something that's happening. But when you look through this 50 millimeter, it makes kind of like an hourglass with a fat bulge, kind of like what they think the sphere is, really. But that might play into how much particles we're seeing in the air up close versus far away. I don't know, but it's interesting to look at. If you get a chance to take a look at, you can find them on Google and whatnot. They're great diagrams.
Well, Chris, I mean, with the camera obscura and those experiments they did that showed that light, has some linear properties, you would expect, I guess, light to kind of behave in this way, with only certain rays reaching your eye and being able to be resolved. I mean, there's infinite images that come to your eye, and so your eye, the image is still there. It's just that your mind kind of throws it out because it can't just resolve everything. Otherwise, your brain would be overloaded with all these images. And so, yeah, I guess.
And that's what's amazing is your mind is biased to what it's going to filter out.
Can I give you a great example of that? So Penn and Teller do a stage show in Vegas, and at the beginning of the stage show, this is a few years back, but admittedly it still holds true. What you had when you went into the auditorium, if you sat down as an audience member, is you're looking at the stage and you see what looks like a wooden frame just in the middle of the stage, just an empty wooden frame. And then in the TV show, they go to the side view of what the audience can see, and what you're actually looking at is two mirrors back to back, one in front and one in behind this wooden frame. And Penn and Teller are actually stood on the frame, so they're levitated about, I don't know, 10 feet off the stage with what looks like just a frame. So you can't see them, you can only see the wooden frame. So hopefully you're with me so far. And what Penn explains, or Teller, whichever one talks, is that when you look at that, you won't see weird things that you wouldn't expect to see. And he gives an example. So he sticks his hand out in view of the audience and waves. So he's literally just a disembodied arm waving at the audience, and nobody notices. Nobody sees it. They film it. You can see it's definitely happening. He's definitely waving at the audience, but nobody bats an eyelid because your brain simply cannot process it. You see a disembodied arm. It doesn't make any sense, so you completely ignore it. It doesn't get processed. There you go. There's my example.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
I saw that show because I used to live in Vegas and I don't remember that part, but yeah, they do a lot of that.
Yeah, it's like that. Have you seen the basketball catching? It's two teams with about 10 players in each team, and one team's in white, the other team's in black. And what they're doing is they're constantly moving in the screen, and like the white team are throwing the ball between themselves, the black team are throwing the ball between themselves. And what you're supposed to do, the challenge was to count how many passes the black team make. And in the middle, there's a moonwalking gorilla that moonwalks through the picture, and your mind doesn't even see it because you're concentrating that much on counting the passes of the black team.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy. But your brain does not see it, and this is why eyewitness testimony is always considered to be dodgy in courts. There's something called the Turnbull Guidelines in UK law, and it says if your main witness is the only key piece of evidence that you've got, then you have to read to the jury 7 questions of. It's to limit how strong the jury interprets the witness testimony, and it's things like: did you have a line of sight? What was the color lighting? What was the ambient lighting like? Was it yellowy, like the orangey yellowy color, or was it street lights, or what? And there's a load of things that they read to the jury to say, look, don't take this person's word for gospel. People do make mistakes.
So there's a few times I've seen that gorilla, moonwalking gorilla, and it's like they do different things. It could be basketballs, it could be skipping, and you've got to count the number of skips. Basically, they're trying to distract you with something else. And because I'd seen it before, of course, you're then conscious of the test. So you see the moonwalking gorilla go by, and you're like, I know this test. And then the last time I watched it, they did it, and I was like, yeah, I saw the gorilla. And they said, but did you see the colour change in the background? And you go, what? And then they rewind it and show you that it's gone from blue to yellow, and you haven't noticed.
Yeah. It's because we only notice certain things, and if it seems to be okay and it's not contentious. And of course, that's the same reason why pilots are challenged as to why they don't see the curvature of the Earth, and it not be a question for them. And the answer is, well, as long as we point our plane at the relevant bearing for the duration of flight time that they tell us to fly at that bearing at, and you get to your destination, why would we challenge it? Because you're flying around a huge globe. Everyone's got this huge conception that the globe that we live on is absolutely massive. And I think people think that it's the size of Jupiter. But actually, when you look at the geometric maths of it, it's the size of, well, if want for a better phrase, what Soundly shows. The reality is it's a lot smaller than what we're told. If you look
4
at
times the size of the moon is a great way to get that perspective. That's not that big.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I mean, Rave, if do us a favor, put your screen back on, your thing with your triangles on, or have you got rid of it?
Yes, sir. Right there.
So what you've kind of crudely showed there is what we see from a perspective point of view. But if you were to draw a brick wall across where the two lines meet at the apex at the bottom, just draw a brick wall, maybe a couple of centimeters in front of it.
Right here?
No, towards the end, towards the point where it converges. Yeah, about there.
Yeah.
And go back a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Just
right
here. draw. You're right. Imagine that as a brick wall, right? But instead of it being as big as what you've drew it, imagine it's only half the size and it blocks off the stuff. Basically, yeah. So in between the two triangles,
right there.
no, in between the two triangles, where the lines meet together, in between the lines, but halfway in between. So get rid of that line. Yeah, but halfway. Not, I mean, that's like 95% of the distance. But just
Right
get
here.
rid of. No. Right, let me show you. I'll show you. It's hard for me to describe it, so I'll share my own screen.
Yeah, it's a little like reverse Pictionary.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a bit of a farce when you've got someone else trying to draw on a paint program.
It's really hard.
You're sharing
Pictionary.
anyway.
All right, so what Array was shown was that we can't. Oh, that's not a triangle, is it? Not the triangle I wanted. Get rid of that. Is there an equilateral one? There we go. That wasn't what I thought it was going to happen.
And now the gallery.
Yeah. Right.
While you're drawing, I'll just mention real quick how many personalities on YouTube, big ones, have gone up on like the Empire State Building and said, just videotape the horizon, go, see, there's the curve. And it's just that bias, they actually think they're seeing a curve up there.
I mean, also, if the sun's, illuminating the earth from millions of miles away, like being in a dark alley, you're in darkness at night, just like with the sun turning away, the earth's turning away from the sun, but there's a zone of light that you can see up ahead. You might be in darkness, complete darkness, but you can see the light up ahead. At night, wouldn't you see that also, with the earth turned toward darkness, but the sun's rays off in a light zone off of earth to the side? You don't see.
I think we were talking about that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But I think Riley was made a good point about that. Where are you saying that as night comes, there should be a clear termination line all the way across horizon to horizon, rather than a local light?
Yeah, there should also be a shimmer zone off to the side, because if the sun can illuminate the earth from miles away, even if we're turned away, there should be a light zone that you can see off to the side. Like if you're in a dark alley, even if you're in darkness, complete darkness, you can see the light zone off to the side.
Yep.
Why can't you see this on Earth? Obviously the sun is moving away with its light.
It's very localized. When it's at the horizon, you just see a small part of the horizon lit, and the rest of it gets purple.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, when they give us the animations of how big the sun is to the Earth, we basically fit in like one ray of the sun. So to think that light would disperse in any way whatsoever, it should just be coming as a huge curtain of light.
Exactly.
All right, so what I'm trying to show here is what we see over water regularly. You see that this particular part of the picture has got this floaty land, and you've got the sky that seems to be reflecting underneath it because it's the same color. There seems to be a layer of mirror, but you see that the boat is not sat in it. So the boat's before this horizon block, or dirty air, or whatever this word is. And I don't know the word to describe it because there is no science for it, because we don't live on a ball. We don't live on a flat plane. But the science says that this is what they call refraction is the curvature of the Earth. Now, obviously, there is no curve, but there is something on the horizon, and it does block what we see. So it appears that what we're doing, as we're looking up to the horizon, and up is the key word, not down, which is what they tell us. It appears that we're looking up to the horizon, but there is something that's blocking it, this dirty air layer thing that's here, that is demonstrated by this bit that is here, this floaty thing. That is the horizon block, and it's blocking off the bottom of the things that we see, because we do see stuff that looks like some kind of obstruction. Now, what it appears to be is that they've calculated the maths to calculate this horizon block, but they're calling it the curvature of the Earth. And you know that this is the case because Miles the Liar Davis, has done a video on like this exact thing. He's seeing this mirage-y thing, and he's calling it the curvature of the Earth because it's blocking off a mountain of hill or a hill mass in the background. And he's saying that that's the curvature of the Earth. Now, to be honest, I went through this exact scenario with what Miles was describing maybe 6 months ago, and I rang through on Nathan's chat at the time, and I said, hey, I think I found some curvature. And I said to Nathan offline, I said, if you came here and you saw this yourself, you would swear black and blue that it was curvature. Now, Miles has gone and done the same thing that I did, and he's come back and said it was curve. But what Miles hasn't done is, or rather what Miles has done is he's ignored the evidence in his photographs or his videos of this, like this thing on the horizon. He's completely ignored it, and he's called it curvature. Yeah, me and all the flat earthers look at it, and I'm sure most of the ballers look at it as well, and they realize that there is something there, and it isn't curvature, but it is blocking what we see. Now, they're calling it curvature because it's calculated for, and most of the time it's generally quite consistent. However, this is not curvature. This is where ballers fail, because this is the causation point, the causative point of what we're actually looking at is not the curvature of the Earth, because there would not be this line there if it was. This line, for whatever optical reason, is there, and it causes us to get obscuration of whatever we're looking at. And this is why the sun sets from the bottom side up. We can't see through this layer. Whatever it is that's in the foreground, blocking out the thing in the background, it's stopping us from seeing all of this. That's why you can't see the sand on the beach. That's why Alex is never going to be a flat earther, because he wants to see the sand. Now, either Alex knows that there's this mirroring on the horizon, or he's just ignorant to it. But we see it almost all the time. Sometimes it's difficult to discern. Sometimes you can't always see it. So, for example, in this, if I go back over to the other side of the mountain, it's not that obvious that you can see it there. There is a little bit of it there, but it's minuscule. But it's a lot less and a lot less prominent than it is on this side. And it's got to be something to do with the angle of the sunlight, the position of the sun, or I don't know, or maybe the volume of water. I don't know. I don't know what causes it. But what I do know is that the boat hasn't disappeared from the bottom side up. That's the first thing. Secondly, it hasn't reached this mirroring point in the background. And the mirroring point in the background is ignored by ballers, but described as curvature. And it simply isn't. I don't know what to describe it as, but I do know that it's there, and there is evidence of something there. And it's not it's not the curvature of the Earth we're seeing. It's some kind of optical thing that is the refraction, but I can't explain it. All I can say is it's there. That's what we're looking at, and that's why the sun disappears from the bottom side up.
Well, in the drawing that we had over here, I included the ground because I'm basically saying that the ground is competing for the vanishing point too and cutting off the perspective, like half of the perspective. And so everything narrows up to the vanishing point, including the ground. And so since you're only 6 feet off the ground, you have a 6 foot bit of vanishing point like up to here. Like 6 feet of vanishing point would be up to here, even though there's more stuff in the distance like this that wouldn't be seen. This would be the blank zone that you see past there, because your 6 foot vanishing point would stop here, and then past here, your eyes just wouldn't resolve it below your horizon line. And that's what's happening with this blank zone on the water, where you can see water maybe up to here, and then past here, there's a blank zone because you're not high enough off the ground to describe a higher vanishing point.
Yeah, I think better than dirty air, convergence might be a better explanation.
Well, it's all of the above, actually. They've factored in it, all of it. So, yes, it is vanishing point, and
there you go.
The effects of what Anthony's calling dirty air have all been taken into consideration when they've done the mathematics at 8 inches per mile squared, and it factors it all in. To be perfectly honest, there is some evidence of that in the Isle of Man image, and I'm hoping that all four of us, if I can convince Anthony and Chris to do it as well, is to do an example of how that has been co-opted, how we actually have had those mathematics taken and used to convince us that when things disappear in the distance, they're actually going over the curve. So, I know Ranty's keen to do this. I'm very, very keen to do this. You weren't so keen yesterday when we brought it up to you, Anthony, but hopefully we'll talk to you again. Oh, we've got Ranty with us. How you doing, Ranty? Speak of the devil.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey.
It's not that I'm not keen. It's more that I think that we should wait until it's the catalyst, which is the ballers, bring it up. Because if we bring it up without it being announced or without it being challenged, I think that they're never, ever, ever, nobody's going to understand the point that we're making unless it's challenged beforehand. So I think if we do it preemptively, I think that will just cause confusion. And because I get what you're talking about, but it's not easy to understand even with us, like that understand it. It's difficult to understand, but I'm not bothered. I just think that
I can make it sound easy that everyone understands.
We'll do it now then if you want.
No, I'm not prepared for it yet. I'm going to work on it today and get it all prepared so that when I do it, it will be very easy to understand.
I'm glad you've said that, Ranty, because... Sorry, Anthony, I was just going to say, I'm glad you've said that, because I think it's a very, very important point, because visually up until now I've had dozens of explanations of how refraction or convergence or whatever has been co-opted into curvature, but I've never had a visual example of how I can literally put it on screen and go, right, this is what they have done, and you can see it. Whereas we have got that now, and I think it's something that, yes, it is going to be difficult to digest for some, but the same applies to just seeing things, literally just seeing things, you know, in the Isle of Man picture, you're just seeing things, and a lot of globers especially find it difficult to compute that. You know, well, what's the problem with just seeing stuff? It's like, well, you've got a curved Earth, obviously you shouldn't see it. They're like, well, no, it's normal. And then you go to maths, and I think there's a cognitive break where they don't realise that by understanding and accepting the mathematics, they're essentially saying that they're seeing things that aren't there. And a lot of people haven't quite got to that stage yet. So I think, yeah, you're right, Anthony, it might just be a bit too much, a bit too soon to go into that level of detail. But it will come, and I think it'll come with sort of a good amount of preparation, so that it can be explained in a relatively easy to understand way. Because at the moment, because of the debates, some people are confused, and it's maybe intentional from the people who are literally trying to deceive you and convince you that you live on a ball, because that's what the name of the game is: confuse people. You know, if they don't really understand it, if they don't really understand that when they look at the Isle of Man, they have to accept that those things aren't there, then if they don't understand that, they can just accept the mathematics of how it's been brought back without appreciating what brought back means.
And it helps to give a system, like a basis for what's going on, because if they can see what's going on, then they can be like, oh, I didn't see it from this perspective. Now I have a different way of looking at it that might be valid. And so with even the sunrise and stuff, you could take the implications of, you know, kind of what this vanishing point is basically saying with the sun, and say to them, see if I can get rid of all this extra drawn stuff and draw kind of what's happening with the sun. Let me try a new one. Don't save. So you're here on the ground, and the sun is vanishing into the distance. Basically, what it kind of says is you have a fake vanishing point and a true vanishing point. If you're up in the air and you were at height level with the object that you're seeing, the sun in this case, it would disappear down to the vanishing point uniformly. But since you're on the ground, it doesn't disappear uniformly like this. It disappears on ground. Well, actually, it's higher up, but the same principle would apply. So it would have the 6 foot vanishing point part where it would vanish past first, and then the taller part of the sun would dip down bottom first below that imaginary vanishing point, bottom first, because the 6 foot vanishing point below vision has already been reached, and so it can't disappear uniformly like this. And those are the two interactions you're talking about: the fact that you don't have top to bottom panoramic view on the object, so it can't disappear uniformly in the distance, and you're not at eye level. And so that shows that you're not at eye level with the object, and that's going to disappear bottom first down to your 6 foot bottom half of your vanishing point. So that could be what's happening kind of with the sun up there in the sky. But the difficult questions would be like, how would, you know, you deal with the vanishing point when the object's higher, when it's lower? But I think that's basically the principle. And then like with the water, the reverse is happening, because it's vanishing out 6 feet of water, and then you get kind of like a dead zone above up to the vanishing point, because I guess you're so low to the ground or something like that. But it's a little hard to explain, but that's the general principle.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think the ballers understand the vanishing point concept. But what Anthony's been able to pick up with this Isle of Man footage, and what I've been able to extract from that information, is absolutely astonishing. I mean, you can literally see the vanishing point forming in front of your eyes.
The other thing is, it's just worth pointing out, there's a comment in chat that says, where is it now? I had it a second ago. Where has it gone? He said the comment was something along the lines of, "I wonder why Anthony's reluctant to go into this and to talk about it." It's because there are people in chat that expect to see the sand on the beach. but don't realize that angular resolution is a limitation of what we see, and you're never going to see it because of angular resolution. Your eye is unable to resolve things that go so small, and that's the reason why. And people in chat think that you should be able to see the beach from 30 miles away, and I'm like, the beach is like the thinnest layer of line, and you're expecting to see it. That's disproportionately unreasonable. Yeah, that's their expectation. So rather than see the evidence that they're presented with, which is a lack of curvature all over the place, they want it to be the beach. And I'm like, but you're never going to see the beach because it's so small. But that's what the expectation is from this one particular person. And on that basis, he's never going to accept anything that he's shown evidence-wise or otherwise because he wants to see the beach, even though it can't be seen.
Well, refraction doesn't make any sense. They're basically saying the light bends like this. But if you've ever bent like a spaghetti noodle or anything, you know that when you bend something, the inner part tends to shorten and the outer part tends to fatten and break. When have people ever seen light break up and come back together again? Whenever light breaks, it breaks up into colors. And as far as I know, it never comes back together again. So you would see some rainbow prisming on the outer part of this bent light if it bends like a hula hoop. And I guess you'd see laser focus on the inner part of the light. This doesn't make any sense. And then like with refraction, a lot of times you'll see refraction like this. It'll shift over and then be straight again. So what does it mean with refraction anyway? I mean, it might bend it out a little bit like this, but then you still got to deal with, these huge distances. And didn't you guys say something like it should be able to refract up in like clear air because in a vacuum, you have no refraction and so the light goes straight. But in air, it's thicker, so it would go a little slower like this. But what if it's, bending up or whatever with a better conditions, better than atmospheric conditions? It's just so inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Now the looming that we do see from buildings, the slight looming that we see, the small stretching vertically, do we think that's reflection or refraction?
I don't know.
Because my question is, have we ever really seen light refract any other way but down?
Yeah, Soundly shows that light bends up as well.
Okay.
Soundly did an experiment where he put 8 lamps on eight posts and waited for it sundown and then turned all the lamps on. And he showed clearly that all the lights reacted independently of each other. And sometimes they went up, sometimes they went down. And all you had to do was put a straight line across them. And you can see that sometimes they're above the line, sometimes they're below the line. Yet Soundly showed the evidence to support it being curvature of the Earth, but then didn't tell anybody that, well, actually, light does bend up as well. And I didn't even watch his final results. I just saw that the side-on thing that he did, the time lapse, because that was all we really needed to see. That told us everything that we needed to see. Light bends up. I mean, Rumpus spent 25 minutes talking about refraction and hypnotized everybody. Nathan admitted afterwards that when he was listening to it, he was sucked in by it. And it was when I said to him afterwards, Rumpus, you've just spent 25 minutes and you haven't mentioned once that light can bend up. And that was a key point, because not telling you something is the same as lying. Jeremy did it with the lighthouse. He wanted people to explain where the missing rocks were that were under the lighthouse, not telling you that the whole lighthouse was meant to be behind the curvature of the Earth. So it's things like that are deliberately there to try and put you off and make it sound a little bit murky. And the reality
it's silly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go on.
No, go on.
I was going to say, I feel like I should always preempt these looming questions with, obviously the whole thing should be, beyond the curve. They're not even close to having enough height with looming to overcome the drop. But we do experience some looming, and I guess that's a phenomenon that we're going to have to explain.
Yeah, it's easy to explain. I mean, in terms of when you see Ireland in the left-hand side of the image at 145 miles, you've got an absolute crap load of refraction going on between you and the image. Even on an exceptionally clear day, you can still see that band below that land. In other words, Ireland in the distance is still having the bottom of it cut off, if you want to look at it in that way, and it looks like it's literally levitating. Obviously it isn't, you're just seeing the effects of refraction. And considering the scale and size of the image, it's tiny, it's insurmountably small. It's very, very, very negligible, as MIT would phrase it.
That's That's a
But
must. To
what I was
keep
going
pointing
to
out.
add to that, Bruce, was that Ranty's now taken away that argument from them. So in the case of Gem Panda, had we known what we know now, when he said, "Well, where are the rocks that are below the lighthouse?" Ranty would have replied, "Well, why haven't the rocks been refracted up and are looming on the horizon with the rest of it? If all of it's behind the curve and being refracted up and hidden and cannot be seen and is a holographic representation, why aren't the rocks being refracted up too?"
And the water, and etc.
Exactly.
And obviously,
Yep.
Alex still thinks in chat that there was a beach there. He still thinks to this day that there's a beach there. And I don't know how he can possibly think that when he's been shown the photograph showing that it's rocks. He still thinks there's a beach there. He's got this thing in his head about beach, and he can't get it out of his head. He thinks that where water meets land, it has to be a beach. Even when he gets shown that there's no beach there. It's unbelievable.
Have you guys heard this one? If the sun is really setting, as they say, then at some point you should be able to get a light ray on your roof. I don't know if you've ever seen on your ceiling a light ray. I've been looking, but I've never seen one.
Well, there was a while ago where they said something about a mountain lighting up top first versus the bottom part, and they said this shows like the curvature of the Earth or whatever. And I'm like, no. I mean, it could show that, but it could also show like a spotlight. Like if a light is propagated in a ray, with the sun going like this is a spotlight, and then it goes down like this. It's a ray equal in all directions, so it's going to be like that, like a half circle. So here's your mountain over here, top side first, and it's going to light up the top side of the mountain before it hits you down here at the bottom of the mountain. So that's still inconclusive. So a lot of times you just got to show these ballers that there's another paradigm out here that does still kind of explain it. That's it's still inconclusive. It doesn't mean that we're on a ball. It just means that the top part of the sun's rays have reached the mountain first before it dips down to reach us.
That's so true on so many fronts, though. They're always going, well, the predictions are true, but there's other ways to get to that prediction.
And here's the Earth lit up by the sun millions of miles away. This huge, I'm making it messy. Let me do a better drawing. There we go. I saw that. All right, so here's this huge sun, billions of miles away, with a smaller, good enough to give us sunlight on the day side, but then it turns away towards darkness, and then somehow these light rays aren't seen shimmering off into Earth's distance. I mean, that's inconsistent. And that's why I get so crazy with some of this stuff, because some of this stuff is just so patently illogical when you kind of think about it. We can see daylight on the sun side of the Earth, but we can't see it shimmering off in the distance at night. Why? We should see all of these sun rays off to the side of the planet. But it's good enough to light up the planet during daytime, but not at nighttime off to the side with all these light rays out here. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I agree completely. Why is it that we don't see the light peeping around the side and we're not getting it? The only time you'd expect to see no light whatsoever would be the time when it's at perpendicular, like the middle of the night, midnight.
We should be swimming in a sea of light at this point.
Yeah, it should always be to the rising in the east, setting in the west. It should always be over the west horizon, right? Until it starts appearing on the east.
And not to mention the fact that day and night should totally flip 6 months when you're on the other side of the moon, on the other side of the sun, orbiting around the sun. It's just all these mathematical constructs to make this mathematical world that doesn't reflect reality. And so it's kind of like our, mission, I guess, is to bring these people back to reality and be like, these mathematical constructs, centuries of Tycho Brahe and other bad assumptions have, led to just madness. And it's time to go down the routes we were supposed to go down with Nikola Tesla and the ether and some of these other routes that aren't rabbit holes that actually lead to some decent science and some real breakthroughs, as opposed to all these weird mathematical theorems and stuff.
There'll
We're
be a
just putting
short
together an
pause while
encyclopedia tonight.
I was going to say there'll be a short pause while everyone takes in what Arav has just said. Oh, this is all very relaxed. I might do my link a little bit early, rather than waiting to
Might as
interrupt
well.
somebody. Okay, so we have a little over 1 hour left on this broadcast. If you're enjoying the stream, be sure to hit that super chat. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to join the panel, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video. There are a couple of rules in the Hangout. Number one, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please share the show if you've not done so already, as it increases the live audience, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. And one last time, if you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. As I say, there's around an hour, maybe a little bit longer, left on this broadcast.
So where we started way back was a few points that Riley was making, and I do remember the last one, and we were talking about flights being so ridiculous, and he was kind of getting at centrifugal force and how if it's moving anywhere from 700 to what is that, 1100 miles per hour, that we should be in California faster than if we flew there by just standing still. And I think the most phenomenal evidence of that is seeing helicopters hover over the X spot that they're landing on, and they can do that for hours.
Yeah, and then they say something like the atmosphere is moving or something, and out comes some Band-Aid theory or whatever.
It's crazy. The
And
helicopter's just hovering right there, and you're going to just make up all this mystery.
And you see birds flying in the air back and forth. They're not jostled, by the wind or anything. And you see these clouds, these still clouds and stuff, and it's just crazy. And the air is harder to move than rock, and also it's further from the gravitational center, so it would actually be moving faster than the Earth. So technically, when you jump up in the air, you should be blown forward.
That's a great point. And opposite on the moon, they make you look like it's so heavy and so hard to move, but there should be no atmosphere. You should be, flying across the moon and moving at light speed, and everything should be light as heck.
Yeah. And then when you look up at the moon at night, it's lit up very well, silvery yellow colors, sometimes red. But on these space videos, it's dark, hardly any illumination. Kind of inconsistent right there. When I look up at the sky, I see a very bright moon, very well illuminated. It's like, makes no sense.
I'm astonished that all of the moon phases are not considered a shadow of the Earth, except for, the new moon, the lunar eclipse, or when there's no moon in the sky. That's the only time that the moon is in the shadow of the Earth.
Joined by Alan B. How you doing?
Hi, Alan.
Can you hear us?
Hello.
Hello, good to have you here.
Hey,
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
hello.
How's it going? You still talking about the Isle of Man?
Yes,
And
indeed.
I've just washed my dirty hair.
That's nice.
Looking good.
Did you want us to stop talking about the Isle of Man?
Well, you have talked about it for 87 hours over a smudge.
Well, it's a photograph, not a smudge, but yes, we have. Did
It's
you
not a
answer
very
my
good
question? So
photograph,
did you
though,
want
is
us to
it?
stop
Not
talking
really.
about it?
And
Maybe
it just shows how, you got to get people's thinking correct on these things. Otherwise, people labor for decades and years and centuries over incorrect doctrine. You know, if somebody would have, explained perspective properly to our parents, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Yeah, it's claimed that Rowbottom was debunked, and yet we still talk about him, 100 years later? So, yeah, just still haven't answered my question. Did you want us to stop talking about it, Alan?
Yes, please.
Oh, well. Never mind. Looks like you're going to be disappointed today.
87 hours, that's 2 working weeks.
Yeah. Maybe it'll be talked for 100 years. Who knows? Will you be
Oh,
counting the
dear.
hours if it's talked to into the next generation?
I doubt it.
No, I doubt it too, Alan.
No, but-
You could just stop listening and do what the others have done. Maybe stick your head in the sand and ignore it.
Don't be rude.
No, I'm being dead serious. That's what others seem to do. They stick their heads in the sand and just ignore it. You have chosen to, what's the word? Ridicule it. Call it a smudge. And ask us to
Well-
stop talking about it, of course.
Well, first it's on the left, then it's on the right. The lighthouses are all over the place.
They are.
No,
They're everywhere.
not
It's amazing
clear
how many there are.
identification. It's not very accurate.
It's a photograph.
I've got to say, though,
it can't be
Alan, I'm glad
inaccurate.
that you
It's a
acknowledge-
photograph. Do you understand that, Alan? It is what it is. It's not an inaccurate photograph. It's a photograph. You understand that, right?
Why haven't you been back? You, Nathan.
going on
I mean,
Friday.
the
I've never
information
been
you're
there at all.
using is.
I've never ever been
as
there,
you
Alan.
turn it,
Let alone
not
go back.
first
I've not
hand.
been there.
I'm
I've
going.
never been
I'm
there.
going on Friday.
And
There you go.
people have been back and not got the same results. So there is work in progress here. And you do realise that by acknowledging that there is a smudge there that should be behind the curve of the Earth, you are actually acknowledging that the Earth's flat.
No, not really. I'm acknowledging that the whole photo is a smudge.
No,
Not
but it
really.
isn't.
You're acknowledging one particular smudge in one particular area that's supposed to be behind the curve of the Earth.
Right, maybe Alan doesn't get that. The smarter people like the Rumpus and Paul accept that we cannot see these things and that it's a geometric impossibility. Oh, is Alan kicking everybody? Oh, Alan, that's such a shame. Did you not like us talking about the Isle of Man? Oh, how sweet. So Alan's chosen to boot everybody. Very good of you to be here, Alan. Clearly, if you don't want us to talk about it, you feel that we just shouldn't talk about it to anybody. There will be a short intermission while this continues on Skype.
For some reason, it's come through on my phone.
Can you add a few people to this call?
Yeah, I'll disconnect from this and rejoin on my PC.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
Hello. Seems Alan didn't like talking about the Isle of Man, and if we weren't prepared to shut up about it, he felt the need to shut us up.
Yeah, let me just work out where I've got the sound coming from.
However, the link is still open. You can still join if you are in the audience and would like to join the discussion.
So basically, Alan, the squeaky voice guy, was an imposter.
Yes.
Well, at least we know that he won't get on the panel again. That's the main thing.
See, they moan and complain about an echo chamber, and then you give them the keys to walk in unimpeded, and they just ruin it. I'm amazed that you put up with it, Nathan, to be honest.
There's an echo there, mate.
I know. I'm trying to turn it off my phone. Bear with me. Right, that should be better. Does that work? Yes. So they get given the keys to the city. They come in and they just snipe everybody. Well, isn't that cowardice of its biggest form? I mean, you've got to have pretty girly ankles to do stuff like this. So you can all sit there and laugh and giggle and right. So hang on. The other two guys that got booted out.
I asked the one guy to send me an email. He may have sent me an email so I can add him on Skype. Bruce Banner,
yeah.
Doesn't look like he sent me an email. Nathan Oakley 1980 at AOL.com if you want to drop me a line, Bruce.
Nick with no L says, lol, Riley, remember when you sniped 5 people in the same hangout? Yeah, it was actually 3 people, Nick. I mean, you know what they say about people that exaggerate things? And it wasn't even a hangout that was live. It was a hangout that never made it live and was being restreamed by somebody else. It never went live, as far as I remember. Or maybe it did, I can't remember. But in any event, it was offline at the time. So yes, I did snipe 3 people, not 5. And it was offline. So what? And I admitted it straight away. Like, Riley doesn't snipe on this channel. Of course, snipe. We have to keep certain people out, don't we?
I might have just added a random person, so I don't know if the guy I've just added is actually the guy. We shall see. He certainly sent me an email saying, yes, I am on Skype. Maybe not.
Is he there?
No. It must be a different guy.
He's tried to get on before this, Alan B. And he's made a big hoo-ha in the chat saying that, because he's tried to come on at the end of the stream. And then we allow him in and he snipes, so he won't be coming on again. It's as simple as that, isn't it? Unless you want the snipers in, Nathan.
I don't get it. I don't think he is a sniper. He's just a regular guy who sniped. Occasionally people...
Oh, come on. You could tell he was putting a voice on.
He didn't join the show to snipe. He had something to say. He wanted to tell us that we shouldn't be talking about Isle of Man anymore, and we've spent over 80 hours on it. And when it was pointed out that something that's claimed to be debunked by the Globe side, i.e. Rowbottom's work, it still gets talked about to this day, even though it's claimed to be debunked. This isn't in any way debunked. It's absolutely rock solid. Nobody's challenging anything. The best they can come up with is the Mark Taylor defence, which is what this guy's come up with. It's a smudge. Can't tell what it is. It's like, well, we can tell what it is. It's a lighthouse-shaped smudge, if you want to call it a smudge, and it's in the exact location a lighthouse should be. If you want to ignore that particular smudge, there's a smudge that another glober, namely James Panda, identified for us, and was pretty conclusive about his identification, and we all agree. And that also is a holographic projection. It's not really there. Doesn't really exist in this world of globeness that you all think you live in. And when this is pointed out to people like that, they snipe us. That's the bottom line.
So what's the going forward if Alan B joins again? Are you happy to leave him in the hangout, or are you just going to wait for him to snipe again?
Well, I mean, we're now talking about it, and this is the show. So, unfortunately, I've said this many times. People say, I thought you were happy with snipers. Obviously not. I'd rather he stayed in the show. But rather than being embarrassed by us, by the fact that his model simply doesn't work in any way, shape or form, and the fact that he's saying things like, well, it's not reality. It's like, well, it is reality. It's a photograph. It's not actually a photograph. It's stills taken from a video, but technically speaking, each of those stills could be classed as a photograph. It is a single image. So, it's not fake. It's not some fantasy world. The mathematics that goes along with the explanation for a photograph is the fantasy. And some people wholeheartedly buy into it. Some people don't understand it, and when it's pointed out to them, they get annoyed. Some people may never understand it. There may be examples of people like Cat Earth who will eventually get it and then start spouting that rhetoric like we don't understand it because they suddenly feel like they're smart when they understand that it's all holograms. At the moment, they don't get it. And hopefully, with time, they will get it. And they'll come in and they'll challenge us again. People like Alan will come in, get annoyed again and snipe us again if that's what he chooses to do. As you guys said, it's very, very telling to the audience. There is an open door here. You can come in, but there's a glitch, whatever you want to call it. YouTube/Google allow people to do this. I can't control it, literally. There's nothing I can do about it. Absolutely nothing. But that's the show. That's what we've had today. Very cordial and polite show until a Glober joined, told us, in no uncertain terms, that we shouldn't be talking about this, And when we continued and told him tough luck, we're going to anyway, he sniped us all. That's what's happened. And I want that shown. You know, as much as I would prefer we just had a cordial conversation with him and pointed out that he's a fantasist, he may not like that, but that's the world he lives in. If he doesn't like the world of fantasy being pointed out to him, and he snipes us as a consequence, that's the way it is. I can't do anything about that. We don't know that he's going to snipe us. Anybody could do the same.
So are you going to go back to the old way of doing things where you had 3 or 4 open hangouts ready to restream and put a new link out in case we get sniped again?
I could do that now if you wanted me to. It takes me 30 seconds. Do you want me to put a new one in and you can jump back in?
Yeah, I mean,
okay, give me 2 minutes.
Worthwhile.
It's very quick and easy to do. Happened enough times. He says 30 seconds. Let's see if he's right.
So are you going to send the link? You're going to put it in
I'll give it to you guys first, once you guys are all in and settled. So in case any real snipers do actually join,
yeah,
you can snipe them.
Okay.
There you go. You want to drop from this call and it should be in the side chat.
Sure.
So yeah, so this is today's show. Very cordial for the first hour until a Glober got in and has his nonsense pointed out to him. Hello, hello. Right, now it just a small matter of putting it in the actual chat so people can join. Another 30 seconds maybe.
Okay.
There we go.
Was I getting
dashboard.
feedback then? I am.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
Where's that coming from? God damn it.
Stop now.
Oh, it must have been just that initial one when you first joined.
So hopefully the show can carry on. Might get the same guys back as we had last time.
This show, if Alan does rejoin, just kick him immediately.
Yeah.
It's just caused me at least 2 minutes work.
And just addressing those in chat that are complaining about sniping. We do snipe. I snipe because I want the show to carry on. I want the bowlers to come in and I want to dispute, debate and fight with you over what you think is the shape of the earth. That doesn't mean I'm going to allow people to sit here and snipe everybody else out. Nathan trusts me to be able to snipe the people that are sniping us. That doesn't mean we're going to snipe everybody, but it does mean we're going to snipe the people that think that they can control this, because we can choose whether we let you in or not. It's that simple. So we decide whether you snipers come in or not. And for show after show after show, it was allowed to happen. And it got to the point where it became useless. So there was no debate show anymore.
Yeah, essentially what happened up until now, before you guys started to snipe out the snipers, which is essentially what you're doing, I just allowed it to happen without any flat earthers doing it. So what would happen is you'd get 2 or 3 flat earthers in, and then one by one it would be reduced to 1 flat earther and 9 globers, as they all just sniped out the ones that had the strong arguments. Or it would just be me. You know, it'd just be literally me and a panel full of globers. I'd go on mute and just think, sod this. You know, why am I going to try and defend myself against 10 people? It just seems crazy. But there we go. That's how it was. Now it's the other way around, and of course they don't like it. Oh, right, so sniping cool now. It's like, no, you guys continually sniped on the globe side, and then eventually Ranty and Anthony thought, well, sod this. We can do exactly the same. We can play that game too. And we want to keep the show. We're going to these extents to let you in. You know, every other show in Flat Earth is a complete circle jerk as far as I'm concerned. And this one's got a complete open door policy to anybody and everybody. I mean, we've not had any concave earthers on. We've not had any hollow earth people in. You know, we've not had any alien believers. But they're all welcome. What we have had is nothing but anti-flat earthers who snipe real flat earthers out of the show. That was how it was for the first 60 or 70 shows. And that's how it was. It was perfectly acceptable to them. Now it's the other way around and the tables have turned. Suddenly it's a big issue. It's like, well, no, literally we have people come just to kick people out. They don't say a word. They come to mute people. They come to kick people. And they're welcome to come and say something. That's why the link is open. It's me taking all the risks. I could just close it off to everybody. I could just make it a circle jerk. I could just make it invite by email only. You know, and then eventually, like with Dread a couple of nights ago, you know, Tim's got on the show with a fake voice. And I don't think it's necessary. If Tim wants to join, he can. He doesn't have to put a fake voice on. Doesn't have to put any airs and graces on. You know, he can be as annoyed as he likes, so long as he doesn't swear. And he can put his opinions completely, openly. You know, obviously they're going to be challenged. That's the point of the show. But to just come and say, well, I've got nothing to say, but I don't want these guys to say what they're saying. And at the end of the Isle of Man debate, it was so bad in terms of the sniping that they were getting rid of everybody because it didn't matter. It didn't matter who came on, like Alan. He comes on and he's like, well, his opinion is we should stop talking about this. Again, that's awful for the audience to hear that. Well, why? Why do you want him to stop talking about it? Would be my opinion if I was watching this. You know, what's so wrong with spending 80, 800, 8,000 hours talking about it? Who cares? If you don't like it, sod off. Go and watch some cat videos. But don't tell us what we can and can't do. We're going to talk about whatever the hell we like. If you want to come in and challenge it, you're welcome to do so. But to simply come in and say, just stop talking about this. Like, no. You've got to be joking. You're welcome to express your opinion that we should stop talking about it. You're perfectly within your rights to come in and tell us that. But I'm also perfectly within my rights to say, tough luck. I'll do as I damn well choose. You can vote with your feet. You don't have to watch.
Move. Come on, move.
The link is available, by the way, if somebody wants to join. Or at least I hope it is. Seems to be working. You didn't get kicked, Alan. You kicked everybody. There was no one else on the panel that was going to be kicking people. How you doing, Renee? Good to have you.
Yep. Hello.
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 Yeah.
Becoming a bit of a regular.
Puppy, move.
I think a dog just sat on a vacuum cleaner. What can we do for you, Renee? Sorry for the sketchy start.
So,
there we go.
There we go. I've muted Sleeping Warrior.
Okay, thank you. So, who's online? Just curious.
Ranty and Anthony.
Ranty and Sleeping Warrior.
Yeah, right.
No.
Well, first I will say thank you for the pictures you sent me. You know, the composite pictures.
Yes, yeah.
But I have been analyzing them a little, and there's something wrong with it. If you look, can you bring up the free layered pictures?
I will do in a little bit. I'm just waiting for Anthony to get back so we can watch the chat.
Yeah. I'd also like to address something you said earlier about light in space. You said that we should be able to see light passing by the Earth.
I wasn't involved in that conversation.
I think it was Arrow, but feel free to address it, Renee.
Yeah, I think you can't see light unless it's reflected on something, either the atmosphere, the ground, or clouds, or anything like that. So in space, there's nothing to reflect off, so you can't see it in space, except when it hits the moon or satellites.
Like the ISS, for instance. You wouldn't see it unless there was light bouncing off it.
Yeah. One moment, I'll be right back. I'll stay in the chat, but I'll have to check something out.
No worries.
Okay.
Good to have you if you drop. If not, hopefully hear from you in a minute.
Mm-hmm. What do you think Anthony was doing? Was he doing a bit of hoovering, do you think?
I think his dog kept sitting on the vacuum. May not know that I've muted him.
I wonder if he knows he's muted.
Yeah, I muted him. All I could do was a
Was
power
my mic open then?
Say again?
That's it.
Was my mic open then?
While you were arguing with your dog and the vacuum was going off?
Yes. She did something that she shouldn't have done on the carpet.
I see.
Something
very nice.
Of the solid form.
Jolly good. Very nice.
Very, very runny.
Oh, you didn't hoover it up, did you?
No more details, please.
Got a Vax. You know, one of those wet Vax things.
Oh, right, okay.
Lovely. That's
Hello.
That's beautiful. Hello again, Renee.
Yeah. Can I share my screen?
It depends on if you've got evidence of this satellite that you think that you're seeing.
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Oh, come on, we've been asking you for weeks, man. This is a bit like Paul with the molten core stuff. Go on, what have you got to show?
Yeah, I like to talk about the pictures I have been analyzing about Isle of Man.
You go ahead and present. As soon as you're up, I'll put you up on screen.
Let's see, what can we see? I'm not very good at this, so please forgive me if I do something wrong.
Okay, no worries.
It's the first time I tried this. So
just move your mouse over the page.
Yeah, I know. I just have to find the right window. So the question is, what can you see right now?
Nothing so far. You are sharing. Oh, there we go. We've got you.
Yeah. You can see Douglas Head, Baldwin, Bala Canal, and Ballarat, right?
Yeah, go on, we see.
Yeah. But Ballerine and Ballarat is actually reversed. I mean, this down here, where you say it's Balladrin, that's actually Ballacanal.
Okay, so if that's Ballacanal, what do you say is the bit that we've got identified as Ballacanal?
That's Balladrin.
Okay, this is a new one. So how did you come to this conclusion?
Well, actually, I started on the other picture by identifying 2 points that I knew I could identify both here and on Google Earth. And I took this lighthouse here. You know what you call it? You know what you call it?
Hey, Alan B.
Yeah.
I assume you've just come to snipe us. He's dropped already, so clearly just wants to snipe you out, Rennie.
No, he's gone.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, this lighthouse here, I can't remember. It'll end with M. It starts with an M.
Sure, it's Morgall Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Just speak uninterrupted because we're waiting for you to speak and it just slows
down. Okay. Yeah. I know. As I said, I'm not good at this. This is the first time I tried this. And then I took this cliff here. I think I have to change something. One moment, I have to stop sharing and share all of my screen. Because I have to change between programs.
Hello again, Alan B. Hello again, Alan B. Oh, we dropped already.
Now you should see my whole screen again. I'm not sure what you can see, but you should be able to see parts of that photo, of your photo on the screen. Is that correct?
Yes, we see the photo. It's all good.
I need to move this around a little. Yeah. So, this is the lighthouse. And this is the cliff. So I measured the distance. The cliff is here. So I measured the different distance between them and divided it and measured the angle between the 2 points. Google Earth. The angle.
Alan B, can you stop joining?
I'll show you here. This is the point where the pictures was taken, right? At St. Bees.
Correct.
Yeah. So I took this point, this line here, and this line here, and measured the angle between them, and that came up to 10.49 degrees. That means.
Hello again, Alan B. How many times are you going to keep joining?
Can I continue?
You can. You're just being interrupted by somebody that doesn't want you to talk.
Okay, yeah, I know why. Probably. So the distance in the picture, I know it's in centimeters, but I put it in PowerPoint. Is 58.41 centimeters divided by 10.49. That means that for every 5.568 centimeters, that's 1 degree. You follow me?
Yeah, we're all with you so far. I think we all know what the problem will be as well, but carry on.
Just keep speaking. We're just watching. So you
Hello,
just carry
Alan,
on talking.
again.
If we get stuck, we'll interrupt.
Yeah.
Alan just
So
keeps
what do you
joining.
think? No, well, okay. So then I started to point out, let's say, the ends of the island, right down here, and measured the difference, which measured the distance between the lighthouse and this point here, and it comes up to 44.61 centimeters. That's the furthest you can see. Is that right? That's what you claim is island.
Sure.
Yeah. And that comes up to 8.01 degree. So if you put that in...
For God's sake, Alan, just give up.
Yeah. If you measured 8.8 degrees, you'll get this line here, the lowest line.
Okay.
The fun thing is, if you measure other things, they actually lines up almost perfectly.
Great.
With what? Yeah.
So
unfortunately, unfortunately, that means that you can't see. I know you're claiming that you have identified Langley's lighthouse. That's correct, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you can't see that lighthouse. I know you're claiming you can see it, but according to my investigation, you cannot see it.
Okay. So can we test your maths then?
You can try.
Test your maths then.
Hello again, Alan B. Don't know why you keep trying.
Nate, don't even acknowledge him. He's not worth acknowledging. Listen, can we test your maths?
We can try. I hope it's right, but yeah.
Okay. So if you go back to the composite.
Yeah.
And then scroll far left.
Far left. This is far left, yeah.
Right, stop. Right, can you see in the middle of the picture you've got 31.4 equals 5.64.
30. This what?
Yeah. You've got that lined up to the middle or the second light, yeah?
Yeah.
Could you show me on Google Earth where that actually is, please?
Yeah. Let's see a little white spot. It's this one here. You can see it's blinking. So let's zoom in. Blink, blink, blink. It's this one here. This line here. Oh, sorry. This line here.
Okay. So which building is it?
Yeah. No, probably this one.
Okay. So what's the elevation on that building?
94 meters.
94 meters. Okay. So can you go down to the line of sight from just from the sea so we can see where that sits on the landscape? So go down towards the sea level in front of the coast.
I can show you the elevation curve. Is that okay?
What he's asking you to do is show what it looks like side elevation, like the photograph would be. If you come down to sort of maybe, I think it'll allow you to about 1,000 feet off sea level, something like that. And then if you look at it side on, so we're actually looking down the coast like we were looking at the camera. Alan B again. Hello,
One
Alan.
moment.
Determined to destroy this show today, it seems.
Yeah, what a
I
problem.
gathered already you're claiming that the lighthouse is a higher elevation than Morgold Lighthouse, but it actually appears lower than Morgold Lighthouse on the composite.
That's what I want to check. That's what we're getting to.
Well, he's already said it's true.
Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe-
What we want to see is...
Sorry, can you just get Ranty to repeat exactly what you've said again, Ranty, for Renee's benefit?
Yes, Renee, this
Yeah.
building that you're trying to identify has an elevation of about 310 feet.
Yeah, I'm talking meters.
Yeah, the lighthouse that we can all see in the middle, which is Morgold, sits below that height.
Yeah.
Oh, Alan, again. Why?
It sits below that height. But on the composite, the higher one that you're claiming is a higher building is actually lower than Morgold Lighthouse on the composite. So how does that work?
Because it's further away.
It's sitting on the horizon.
Yeah, but it's still further away. I mean, let me say something. Another thing. This picture shows more of the island than we actually should be able to see. I will acknowledge that. It is. If you took this picture on Earth without atmosphere, you will not be able to see the things we're seeing. Atmosphere, you will not be able to see the things we're seeing.
But how does that work with regards to the matching up of the evidence, though? Because I accept your point, but if you show us the elevation profile of that,
No, if you go back to
no, please, can you show us the elevation profile of the land that you're claiming?
one moment. One moment, I have to zoom in a little bit. Let's see. Is that the right? No, that's the wrong. Sorry. Where is it? Yeah, I know. I'm not very good at this.
It's okay.
Please forgive me. I just have to make sure it's the right line. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. And
could you show us
Google is stuck sometimes, but so let's see if we can find it. It's right around. Yeah, it maybe not be that one, but it's still on that line anywhere.
Give
I don't know
Alan.
where.
That's the problem, though, because when you try and line up a building that you're claiming appears to be behind the front lip, it appears to be blocked by the ravine at the front, right at the front. That doesn't make me think.
It could be also be this building here.
Show me.
Well,
So
when you've decided
let me
which
just get this
building
right.
it is-
We're now totally
I don't
changing
know
the
which
building.
building
So
it
this is, sorry, Renee, this is the kind of thing that Rumpus would do, and it gets very frustrating. So you've just taken us to a target, told us conclusively that's what it is. Now you're saying, well, because that's blocked by a hill, well, maybe it's this building.
Hello?
So, you know, it just seems like you've triangulated using something that's highly contentious. So that, what you call that cliff on the right, is about 300 feet tall. I'll just get to you in a second, Jazzaconda, I've seen you. Well, that 300-foot cliff doesn't match up with the landscape in terms of us seeing the rest of the land to the right of it. So that's contentious. Some people say that's a mountain and island. Some say it's the tip of the Isle of Man, and it hugely changes the scale. So you've used a contentious item to get your scale, and then when it's failed, you've then said, oh, well, maybe it's a different building. Do you see the problem here?
I have no idea what building it is. Honestly.
Right, well, we do. We've lined them all
It's a
up
guess.
and shown them. That's the problem here, Renee. So you've got to exceed
Yeah.
what we have done. So when you see that composite, just let me finish,
can we-
please. You've been given a Ranty composite, which shows what the buildings are all lined up, and you've said no because you've got the scale wrong, and then you've used a highly contentious thing to get your scale, and it's failed immediately.
The key point is you've got to identify something that can match the evidence and be seen behind the curvature of the Earth. Now, at this point, it's failed because it doesn't match the evidence because it's blocked by the land in the foreground, the ravine.
The lighthouse here, Mogul Lighthouse. if you watch that on a picture, you can see it's not at the right at the surface. There's at least, how much is it from the base of the lighthouse to the water line?
Hang on, let's go
Hold
back
on.
to the point you were making.
Are we now
Mike.
changing from you telling us we've got the scale wrong and you've identified it better than us to you questioning how much land there is below Morgord Lighthouse? Is this really your tactical change? Because
No, sorry. Okay, let's take that a later date. Sorry.
So can we just have an acceptance from you that what you have done has in essence failed? Can you just accept that before we can move on?
No.
Well, it has.
Sorry.
I've just watched it.
Okay, well, perhaps I could show you why it doesn't work, and then you can tell me why I've got it wrong.
You can try. I'll just stop sharing.
Okay, so I'll share, and then you can tell me where I go wrong. So, Ranty, if you keep an eye on the chat thing for the minute while I do this, because I'm obviously distracted.
I'm on it.
Okay, so can you just clarify that this is the building that you say, or one of the buildings that you think it's likely to be? Is this the one?
I can't see anything. I can only see sunsets.
Just click on where it says sleeping.
The bottom box.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, you only did it really quick, so I didn't quite catch it.
Hello, Jeff.
Morning.
You only did it really quick.
Morning, Ranty.
Hello, Jeff.
How you doing,
Morning,
Jeff?
Ranty. Morning, Ranty.
Good to have you, Jeff. What can we do for you? Bear with us, Rene. How can we help you, Jeff?
Oh, we're gonna.
He just had it on loop. He had it on loop.
No, but we're gonna get sniped. He's dropped straight out, hasn't he?
No, I kicked him.
Oh, good.
No, I'm still on.
No, not
I'm sure
you.
he's kicked people in the past anyway. But so right. Okay. So can you just clarify? Is this the building that you said you thought it might be?
If
If I zoom out a little bit, you can see.
that could probably be it. Yeah, one of them. Yeah.
Can you be precise though? I want to get this right because I don't want you to change because you're gonna have to change your position.
I don't know. I can't say by certainty exactly what kind.
There's no pressure.
For that matter,
So
it could be a right truck.
if you want to, Rene, we've got a good half an hour left. Hopefully you're not under any time restraints. Feel free to go back to Google and just get a bit of clarity. It doesn't matter if it takes 10 minutes, 15 minutes for you to find it, frankly.
So just tell me which building it is because I want to do this, but I want to do it on the building that you say it is rather than the building you think it might be. So you've calculated it. So based on your calculations, you should be able to.
No, actually, I only calculated the angles.
Okay. So
the viewing angles.
So you put the line of sight on, and I tried to copy it as quick as I could before you took it off.
Yeah.
Now,
Sorry.
If you check what your line of sight was, can you tell me is my line close enough? I mean, I need to know which building it is that you're seeing it.
Yeah, I know. As I said, I'm not very good at this, so please forgive me if I'm not that fast as you are. You've done this a lot more than I have.
Well, the only thing I want to know is and I'll deal with the rest.
Yeah, okay. Let's just say it's that building. But it's
You sure?
Man, how can you live with this?
Yeah, this is because you're currently making the globe look bad. I'm just going to tell you like it is, Rennie. I'm going to not sugarcoat it in any way, but all three of us on this panel know how this will fail, and we're demonstrating it. So for everything we do, it makes it look worse for your side of the argument. If you're a glober, that is. I assume you are.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to work on the concept that this is the building, okay? It may not be.
Yeah.
You can feel free to change it at any point if you wish, but what I was trying to get you to do before was to drop it down to the elevation that it's like kind of sea level-ish, so that we can see what would be the profile position from, the elevation that I was at, or something similar. And as you can see by this, there's a ravine in front of us. There appears to be nothing that we can do to see it. It appears that is behind the ravine. So when we zoom out a little bit, we look behind the ravine and see that it is in fact behind the ravine. So then what we do is we save it wherever it is. Where's that line gone now? Oh, I need to save the line. That's right. So save the line. And then if we click elevation profile, you can see, as I just described visually, you can also see that as the line goes up there, we have the ravine, and then the houses that you're looking at are behind it and in a valley behind. So So that means it's an impossibility that is the right building. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So then what we would then say is perhaps you've misidentified that building and perhaps it's a different building, and we'd invite you to see if you can find an alternative building that we could check.
Okay. Yeah. Listen,
just before I fire off it, let me just show you the bit that you need to match, just so that I'm clear and that you understand my position and that we're both on the same page.
But Anthony, can I just jump in and just say one thing? You need to find something that's on an exact line of sight with that particular building, because otherwise, even if it's only a fraction to the left or the right, his whole scale will fail.
Correct.
Everything that he's done will fail. So it has to be something that's on a direct line with that building that he's identified.
Now, the key point is, if you realize that what we're seeing on the real world image is that we see the ravine edge, the horizon where the land meets the sky, we see the ravine edge. The buildings appear to be just below the horizon, but significantly above the waterline. So what you need to find is a building that would be significantly above the waterline, but below the ravine edge, and it must match what we see in relation to the tuft of trees and towards Douglas Head. So they're the buildings that you've got to identify. And I'll give you a tip. The scale that you use, and you won't be able to do it.
Okay. You said these tree trunks up here. Yeah, I can't. Left, right of the buildings, you can see there's a little. Yeah, that one there.
Yes.
Where is that? That has been identified on the Google Earth, right?
Sure, we've identified it. Yeah.
Okay. Could you show me?
No, this is where you've got to do the work to research. You've got to match it because you're the.
Yeah, but I also found it.
Great. Okay.
So I'll just let's see. Let's see what. Yeah, here. It's right here. It look.
We don't have your screen at the minute. If you can just share your screen again, Rene, please.
Yeah. Just say when you can.
Yeah, we see. We see.
Yeah. Yeah, this one.
Sure. So, in relation that, if you can identify them trees, it should be dead easy for you to identify the buildings, because there's only one possible place that they could possibly be. When you look at the elevation of the red line next to the trees, there's only one place that they could possibly be.
Oh, what happened? Oh man, fuck! I forgot. Sorry, I'm sorry, my language. I can see. I'm. Yeah, sorry. That's. Well, sorry. I forgot this wrong. Because what I showed you was not the line to the 3 white spots. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No worries,
So,
we've got plenty of time. We'll have a do-over, pretend none of that happened. Let's start again. No worries, Rene.
Yeah. If you can see, I got something called 3 white spots. This line blinking here. This line here is actually the right line for the middle of the white spots.
Okay, great. So perhaps you could show us the building, one of the buildings.
There's this building here, and there's this building here. I have to zoom out a little, otherwise I can't see the line here. There's several buildings that can be used. But let's just take a look at the height profile and see what's happened.
Well, we don't see several, we see 4. That narrows it down significantly, right?
Yeah, but these are on the line, so these will it can only be one of these. Remember, this line should be on the middle one. I know you say 4, but I'm counting number 2 from the left. If I go back here.
I have to admit, I am pretty bored with this particular thing because this has been done
Yeah.
for like 40 episodes with ballers that have had experience using Google Earth, and we've had the top brass come in and they've all failed. And sorry, I've just seen you're repeating the same thing that they've done. And
But on the other hand, I'm not bored. I'd like to.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying. We've already seen all of it.
Can we continue for a few minutes more?
Yeah, you carry on. You've got all the time
Yeah.
you need.
Yeah. This line here, if I can get the height profile, of course I can't. I just, there, height profile. And of course it zooms out. There. Yeah. So it could be these buildings here are both within the line of sight.
Okay, great. So perhaps you could tell us what the elevation of that building is.
I can see that one. The first one here is 140 meters, 114 meters, and the next one is 155 meters.
Okay, so that's 512 feet. As far as I'm just trying to identify the same building myself. So I believe that we're looking at 500 feet, give or take a couple of feet. That appears to be the same building. Okay, so now, again, could you come down to the line of sight like I did and show us what the profile from the side looks like? Because I agree it could be seen. Now all we're going to do is match.
One moment, my phone is ringing. Kenny?
I think he said his phone was ringing.
Yeah, he's gone for his phone. In the meantime,
Anthony, did he say that one was at 115 meters and one was about 150?
Well, I'm just trying to line it up with what he showed us.
Well, if that's the case, there's a 100-foot difference. But if you look at those three white lines, they're in identical height.
Yeah, I know, but let's get him to. He's back at his thing now, so let's get him to draw the line of sight in, so we could see it from the profile that the model that doesn't work tells us we can. Or maybe perhaps if I could do it for you and then speed up, because obviously he's muted at the minute.
He's not muted.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Can you see the two, this building and this building here? You can see them both.
Have you not just changed the buildings?
No, I haven't changed the buildings. This is the correct line of sight.
Can you zoom into the building, please? That's not the building I thought you had identified before. Let me just double check.
Seen from the top down or just here?
Hang on a sec. I've lost my screen. There we go. Right. So I'm looking to just bear with me a sec while I get to the same thing on my screen so that I can just check your work. So bear with me. Baldrine and it's Dan. Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. So I have the buildings on the screen as well. Okay, so go on, make your point. Yeah, what I want you to do is zoom down to the street level and look up the way I did and show us what we can see. Show us that we can see it and where it is in relation to the rest of the landmass.
Yeah.
That's the first thing that we do.
Good luck with that. Yeah. Let's see. I just have to make sure I'm looking at the right line. And yeah, that one line here.
Okay, so let me, I'm just about looking up myself. So now, would you agree with me that the way I see that, it's right on the very, very tip of the horizon. where the land meets
Not
the
the
sky.
first building. That's not on the horizon.
All right, but in
This building
regards
here.
with regards to the clump of trees that you've identified, firstly, it would appear to be immediately left of the clump of trees. Can you Can you show us? Just zoom out a little bit so we can see the clump of trees.
I'm not sure. I think the trees are this part here.
No, the trees are they're just behind the ravine on the left. More to the left. More to the left.
To the left.
No. Go back on the line of sight.
They're sticking up. It's the hump that's sticking up in the middle of the frame now. Now slightly right of frame. There you go.
No,
this one. That's the trees.
Right, pull it in, mate. Go zoom in a little bit. You'll see them. Go on, that's it. That's it. Keep going. Now, stop.
Yeah.
Go back. Go to the left.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's the right. Go to the left.
Sorry.
There's your clump of trees. That line there.
This one. Oh, this one there. Okay, yeah.
That's your clump of trees. So with regard, go back to the line of sight so that you can keep your eye on where they are. That's it. Go back to your line of sight.
I just have to remember which line it is. Yeah,
there we
here.
go.
It's this line here.
So if you can sit on top of it. No, it's the red line slightly to right of frame now.
No, it's not. That's the clump of trees.
It's this one that's blinking.
Yes, that's the one. That's your line of sight. Now, relative to the clump of trees, would you agree with me? It's immediately next to it. It's almost touching it.
One moment. I have to check something out.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Does it do that in real world? So go move the map to the left. No.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
But yeah, pull that to the right so that we pan to the left.
Sorry. Now everything is fucked up. Oh, I was back in business.
That's it. That's the one. Keep going. Go to the left.
Yeah.
No, go the other way.
Oh, so...
Keep going.
Yeah.
Bit more.
Yeah.
Bit more. Keep going.
It's there. Yeah. There's the three lights.
Okay, so stop. So the clump of trees, it's immediately to the left. Now, if you're going to say that that's immediately to the left, I'll say, I don't agree with you, but okay, let's test it. Now, notice how much land there is below it, and notice how much land there is above it. There's a lot below it, but a little bit above it. Agreed?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go back to Google Earth. Now, can you tell me the elevation of one of them buildings? Or the building that you're talking about?
This one is 114 meters.
Okay, so now let's go to the curve calculator.
Maybe you can do that bit, Anthony.
Yeah, 104. Right, okay. Let me share screens. All right, so let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, you can.
One moment.
You may not have it open on his active window though.
Yeah.
Okay, so just clarify then, just confirm with me that the building that you're talking about is this one. Oops. So I'm just there's the clump of trees, and it's immediately to the left. Okay. Yeah.
Could you zoom in on the building for a moment? Yeah, that's the top building. That's not the one in 140 meters. 114 meters. If you go a little bit below that.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This one here, yeah.
Okay. So now, then I would say, well, why is there not a light above it representing the other building? But in any event, we'll go with this. 38 points. So at this point, I don't agree with you identifying the building because there would be another building above it, and we don't see that. But we'll go with this anyway, okay?
What's that to the left of it, just out of interest? What's to the left of it? Just pan left a little bit. Is there not a town there?
We have the town of Baldrine.
There's a great big town missing. Immediately to the left.
Okay, well, there's 2 points with this. I was going to go with the curvature one, but Nathan's going with the it doesn't match the evidence point, which is equally valid, and we'll mention that as well. If I go back to the evidence, we can see that there is the lights that you're indicating with the tuft of trees. But what Nathan's point is that there's a whole town called Baldrine, and it doesn't appear here, which is where it should do if what you're saying is correct. Would you agree that if that's the tuft of trees and that's the light, and then we have this whole town called Baldrine, would you agree that if we can see the light for this building, you would expect to see the whole town here? Yeah, there's the tuft of trees, there's the lights. Look, there's no town, there's no evidence of a town, there's a missing town. Would you agree?
Well, we can see it. Yeah, yeah, I follow you. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so that's one point. So Nathan's point there with the it doesn't match the evidence point has kind of been dealt with. Now, what I'll do now is apply the curve to it, because we'll see it's 38.3 miles. Okay, so let's bring up the magic maths. Let's bring up this one. So 38.3. Distance in miles, 38.3 miles. The viewer height was 52. And we should see, well, this is where you and I may disagree, but that's the value that the geometric drop is. But this is the value that everybody wants us to use. As a flat earther, we use drop now. We don't use this refracted hidden nonsense. But we'll use yours just so that
no. Let's explain why. So the drop figure represents how far beyond your...
No, forget it. You don't need to.
Well, for the audience benefit, not for yours, René. So the reason we use the drop figure is because that is physically the location of this landmark that you have picked. So this landmark is behind 278.2 feet of drop. So first we must accept, before we do these measurements, that we are actually doing the measurements on a holographic projection of this landmark. We can't actually see it. It's not really there. So we're doing maths on a hologram, just to make that clear to the audience.
Okay.
Okay, so at 978 feet on the geometric sphere of the Earth that we're supposed to live on, that would be nearly 1,000 feet below the horizon. Okay, that means that we're not even seeing it. Do you agree and understand that point?
Yeah.
So
okay, so the math says it's a hologram. We can't really see it, just to make that clear. We can't see this. It's not really there. It's behind the curve of the Earth. It's definitely not visible. We haven't got line of sight. Clearly, it's not there. But
I have to ask you. I know it's a little off course now, but what do you mean by hologram?
It's not there. We physically can't see it. It is not there. You understand that it's not there? It's 900 feet behind the drop. There's a physical... you've asked a question. Now I'm going to answer it. I'm going to answer the question you've asked me. Do you understand that there is a physical wall blocking your view of that, and that it is 900 feet beyond your view? Therefore, it is not there. Do you understand that?
What Nathan's saying is that the horizon would be in the position.
I know.
So what we're saying...
No, you're asking me... I want to clarify this with René, because I'm going to get annoyed. You just asked me, what do you mean by hologram? Now I'm trying to take you through the steps.
Yeah.
Do you understand that it is not there? Do you accept that it's not there? It's not a real thing that we're looking at. Do you understand that?
Yeah, okay. Can I...
No, just give me a yes. I understand that what we are looking at isn't really there. Just say those words, then I'll move on to the next point to explain what a hologram is. Do you understand that it's not really there?
Yeah, okay, for the sake of the discussion, yes.
Not for the sake of discussion. A matter of fact. It isn't there if you live on a sphere. Geometrically impossible to be there. It's not there. We don't have line of sight with it. We cannot see it if we live on a sphere. It is a mathematical and geometric impossibility. Do you understand that? Not for the sake of discussion, for the sake of simple facts. It isn't there.
Can I say something else?
Yeah, as long as it's a yes, I understand it's not there. What I'm looking at is a hologram, then yeah, we can move on. Until you accept that it's not there and we're looking at something that's being represented by magical light, i.e. a hologram, then we can move on. Until you accept that, no, I'll keep pointing out that we don't have line of sight with it on the globe. It is not there in reality. We cannot see it.
I'm not sure what to say to this, except you're a little angry right now.
Yeah, very, because you're saying for the sake of conversation, I'll accept that we can't see it, even though it's a mathematical certainty on your model. You believe you live on a globe, therefore you must accept that we cannot see what's in this picture. Until you do, I'm going to keep labouring the point, until you say, yeah, I accept that it's not really there. We're not really seeing it.
Can I have the chance to address Rene on something that he said before as well?
I said something before that is a little important in this content. I said we can't, in this picture, we can see more than we are supposed to say or to see.
Yeah, but it's quite a lot. Renee, it's quite a lot more.
Anthony, can you watch the side chat, buddy? Well,
yeah.
And I just want to share my screens as well, if that's possible.
Can I show something else on this picture? I like to show you.
Well, firstly, I just want to pull you up on something that you said before, really, and it was to do with the places where you said that I had placed Balacanel and Baldrine in the wrong locations.
Yeah.
That was your assertion that Balacanel on the right here and Baldrine on the left should be in, swapped over, that I'd misidentified them. Okay, well, if I go to Google Earth and here we've got Balacanel,
yeah,
I'm going to put a line of sight in there to Balacanel from where Anthony took his.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So there we go. So I've put you've just seen me now put a line of sight in for Balacanel. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in, so that was Balacanel. So now I'm going to put in Baldrine, Isle of Man, and let Google take me there.
You've got about 60 seconds to make this point before I round the show out, Auntie.
So now we have Baldrine, which is here. Okay.
Yeah.
So when I swing the camera around, what we're going to have is we're going to have Balacanel on the right, and Baldrine is going to be on the left. Would you agree? That is the line of sight to Balacanel, and that is the line of sight to Baldrine. So Baldrine will be on the left, and if I go to my composite image, Baldrine is on the left, and Balacanel is on the right, just as it appears on Google Earth, and your line of sight. So when you came in and told me that my image was rubbish and that I'd misidentified these towns, I clearly...
yeah, okay, you're angry. I'm sorry, but listen.
Because you've just come in and done a presentation and you don't even know what town is which.
And with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and sharing this show. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.